everyone. Welcome to our Artist Chat series with Music for Your Inbox. My name is Cassia Streb, and I'm one of the Music for Your Inbox co-founders. Today, we're going to invite three artists to join us. We have Daria Kaufman and Mattie Barbier and Lewis Keller. So they all contributed to this month's release that we're calling Filter. I'm just going to take a second and get them to join, and then we'll be back with you with lots of wonderful questions. Are you there, Mattie?
Hello.
RC. Oh, there he is. There's Lewis. Anyhow, I'll just start by introducing the two of you real quick while I get Daria to join. So this video, I thought I would kind of set the stage for how this video came to be. I know that Lewis and Mattie, you crossed paths at CalArts, but I don't know how well you know one another. So
Yeah.
I'm introducing you now.
Ah.
And so we started out with a track of Mattie's, so an audio track that they made for an upcoming release. Actually, do you have a date on that one yet, Mattie, or is it
Yeah,
this
I
fall?
actually just got the date this morning. Right then, it's October 14th.
Woohoo! All
Uh,
right.
and from a label out of Oslo, which is really funny.
Well, that's
Oh,
great.
cool.
Great things happening in Oslo.
Yeah.
That's where Lewis is sitting right just now. So anyhow, yeah, we had this great track of Mattie's, and we were looking for just a way to visualize the music through a video. And so we were following Lewis on Instagram, and of course, I've known Lewis for a long time, so he was able to contribute his ideas. And we saw one particular clip of yours on Instagram that we loved that had a dancer in it, had some found footage of some dancers. So then we talked you into letting us send you sort of found footage, which was, of course, us getting Daria to create these elements. There she is. Hello, Daria.
Sorry,
Welcome.
sorry, I had some technical difficulties, but I'm here.
Great. So we're the quartet, which is fun because then we're just four little blobs instead of giant me and tiny artists. So anyhow, Daria, I'd like to introduce you, Mattie and Lewis. I don't know how they're distributed on your screen, but one's on top and one's the side. So anyhow, yeah, I was telling a story of how this came to be. We had the audio track by Mattie, and then we approached Lewis and asked him if he would be into making a video if we could provide the dance material. And then, of course, we asked Daria to create the dance. And so we've been kind of calling it an exquisite corpse, not really knowing exactly what the right terminology is for this, but it was really a producer's dream because it pretty much was Jen and I saying, what do we want to watch and listen to? And then hiring the people to do that. So we're super pumped about this video because well, I think I just have to acknowledge right out of the gate just how much trust was involved with this and how grateful we are to the three of you for your trust. Because Mattie really just gave us the sound and said, yes, you could make a video. And I mean, we floated some ideas by them, but there was not a heck of a lot of like, and it'll look like this and it'll have this exact answer. And then same for Daria. I mean, it's a very vulnerable thing to show your moves, like they create these movements and these gestures and then just hand them off. And so thank you to you both. And then of course, Lewis had the tough job of sort of being like, oh, great, I love artists. I love other people's work. I'll just put all my stuff on top.
Yeah, totally.
But it's a very
There's
simple.
no communication between us. So, yeah.
So anyhow, thank you to the three of you for the trust that you placed in us because we're really happy with the result, and we hope you are too.
Yeah.
So I've talked a lot, and now I would love to just briefly go through each person's little thread that led to this video. You don't have to tell me your whole life story, unless, of course, that is something that you really need to do. And then I wanted to let the three of you ask questions of one another because, of course, you've all had the opportunity to see the video yourselves and to hear the audio. So Mattie, if it's not too much, could I ask you first, since we started with sound, if you could explain a little bit about how you made the audio track, and specifically, I'm very curious about the filter because that became the word that this whole piece was pivoting over.
Sure. It was kind of a little bit of a funny situation where I was for a lot of COVID, my mom-in-law lives out in pretty rural Colorado, and we were quarantining out there on this farm, and just kind of one day that the tank crossed my mind, and I just thinking it was quite far away, and then looked it up, and it's like, oh, this is like a 2.5 hour drive, and so I just emailed them of like, hey, are you potentially open? So it was kind of and they happened to have a date like a week and a half later, so it's sort of just a bunch of coincidences occurred that led to being able to go there and make the album, and uh, it kind of went in with a bunch of plans and then sort of quickly realized that none of them were going to work, and so just trashed all of them and just like, well, what sounds the space like, and then just kind of spent some time just sort of, as the way I thought of it, was just playing in a duet with the space itself, and it led to a few visits, which led to this album that's coming out in I guess just a couple weeks now, and then there will be the volume 2 that comes out at some point as well. I don't quite know when, but a lot of it is sort of in the. I'll just grab the mute real quick because it's right here.
Fun.
It's kind of like a lot of people, a little overly obsessed with uh, especially the writings of Alien Radigue, and just thinking about like listening to the insides of sound. And so I've been experimenting with that for a number of years of just kind of listening to the insides of sounds and like how my body's producing them and affecting them. And it's led to just tinkering with a bunch of different things, including this old type of mute that I found that if you play it in a certain way, you can add like really distinct additional pitches to a single pitch instrument, essentially. And so it's basically like a comb filter, and so that just sort of that this particular track just involves a lot of playing in the space and then listening to the additional tones that the filter of the mute was creating, and then harmonizing them as I just sort of improvise. And so that's kind of the core of why it's called Filter.
So the filter all happened in real time. There wasn't like a post-production filter.
No, it's just sort of there's a little bit of a loose structure in my brain, but other than that, just improvised. So just playing in the space and hearing the sounds, because a lot of them, especially the high ones, would go for 20 or 30 seconds, and just listening to them and harmonizing and just kind of following what the space gave in response, and then sort of trying to match pitches with the filter and harmonize based off of there.
Yeah, well, so what you're describing is sort of a very slow evolving kind of stretchy sound, which brought us to Daria, because we were hoping to have dance involved, but we certainly couldn't have, Swan Lake or something. It would have just been inappropriate.
Really slow
And so
Swan Lake.
a very, very slow down Swan Lake. And so, of course, I met Daria a little while ago, and one of the things she said to me that really stuck with me was she said, "I don't leap," which is exactly the kind of dance that we needed for this, right? Somebody who was just going to be very attentive to these tiny details and to stay with the sound and kind of hold that tension.
I should say I don't leap well. I can leap, but I don't do it well. Like, if that's what you want, I'm not your girl,
Yeah, so anyhow, but it just felt like a really great match. And I know that you're often working with difference tones and with kind of long, dronier, stretchier sounds. And so, yeah, I wanted you to talk from your point of view about what you gave us. We went into the dance studio and filmed you, but what you sort of brought and how you were able to develop those gestures.
Yeah. Well, I was really honored to be invited. And I think over the past year, I've been influenced by my studies in Feldenkrais, which is a somatic method where you move really, really slow. and you just pay attention to these like tiny little moments of letting go and these tiny little incremental shifts in the bones and the muscles. And so I think I've been on kind of a journey of like trying to rediscover how to move from a more honest place. And part of that means moving very slowly. So I was already like on that pathway somewhat. And then with the sound, I mean, I think I was I remember I was rehearsing in my garage and just like listening to the music, and it's almost like you can get into a state, an almost meditative state where you become highly attuned to the smallest difference, you know? And then in the movement, so a lot of the movement is very slow, very liquid, repetitive, but even though it's repetitive, it's different each time. So I was trying to evoke that. I was trying to evoke the same feeling that the music was giving me. And then I was doing these passes back and forth across the space. Partly because I was thinking about the video processing and how that would eventually be applied. Because I recently did a project where we were using deepfake technology to do full body deepfakes, and we were doing a lot of video, and I felt that the opportunity to leave the space and then enter the space was nice for the video processing because it gives you like a natural edit. And there's just a lot you can do with entrances and exits alone, which you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it like literally there's just a lot you can do just with that. So those two, like the movements themselves are they kind of evolve very slowly, very repetitive, but there's still these incremental shifts. And then the passing back and forth. For me in the shooting that we did, it gave this feeling of stages of moving through cycles of like tides ebbing and flowing. So yeah, that was my experience.
Yeah, well, that was one of the questions we should have had for you, Daria, was, when you were filming these, if you knew what Lewis was gonna do with it. And it sounds like you already answered that, like not exactly, but you certainly
Not
had a really good
exactly.
sense.
Yeah, I have experience working with creative coders who intend to take what you're doing and process it. So, and I myself have worked a little bit with just PoseNet and like TensorFlow, I think it's called. And yeah, I feel like actually like it's fun to find poses that confuse the machine, like what I'm doing now. You know how you can't see like the top of my arm, and like this whole thing that I do at some point in the video, like these kinds of it's like I'm trying to have a conversation with the code because I know what makes it easy, what's easier to interpret and what's more difficult for it to figure out. And I actually find those moments where it's like trying to figure out your body, those glitches, those are really interesting because you're like literally watching the algorithm sync. So I was, trying to incorporate some moments like that might be interesting. Yeah.
Well, I feel like, Lewis really just, I don't gonna use sports analogies, but took the ball and ran with it. I really feel like it felt, that was our first comment. Jen and I watched the video when Lewis sent it, and we were like, oh my gosh, he's dancing with her, where you would hit a pose and then the video there'd just be there's this beat, and then the video kind of takes over from what you were doing. So Lewis, I thought it's like a great sort of segue. I know so much about the history of you as a musician and an artist that I'm like trying to figure out the point at which to jump in and you could start talking, because it's such a long and storied past, and you have such a diverse, like you're actually a composer as well and a musician, and so you're the video artist here. So I'm wondering if put
Yeah,
your
so
into your story.
yeah, I've used Max MSP, which is really an audio program, music program for like 20 years now, I guess. but really the pandemic, I've always been interested in Jitter, which is the video side of Max MSB, and wanting to learn about that. And so the pandemic sort of gave me that opportunity, that time uh, to explore that. So it's sort of a new thing for me. I've always been interested in drawing. My grandparents were painters, so I sort of had that background as a visual artist, but it's never been a thing I've really pursued. Um, yeah, so it is a little bit new for me. I think I do approach it from like a musical point of view, maybe more than someone who is purely interested in film would. Um, where, and especially it's my own work, the the sound and the video are like one thing. It's not like I make sound and then make videos to go with it. So this is the first time that I've kind of done something like that. It's usually both parts are in development and influencing one another and sort of communicating with one another. Um, yeah, so this has been a really different kind of way of working for me. Yeah.
Well, it certainly shows in the video that this everything is like leading back to the sound. I certainly felt like that in terms of, because Daria was responding to the sound, to Maddie's track, and then, you're responding to her. It was a great link, and I'm glad
Yeah.
that you're a musician, because I think ignoring it would have. I feel like something that your video does is that the technology becomes almost like secondary, or like I'm just captivated by the images, and I'm not thinking like, how is he doing this? Or,
Yeah,
like, oh, I
good.
wonder what kind of code this is. And that's because it's so easy with Jitter to kind of get obsessed with, well, I could do this and then this and then this. And it just sort of turns into
Yeah.
like a show and tell of what the technology can do. And I also feel like with the tank as well, it's pretty fun to I mean, we just did a video in a tank, to go in a tank and make a big noise and listen to it, right? And then you make another big noise. So it's cool
Yeah.
that you both exercised some restraint and decided, okay, well, this is an instrument. How am I going to actually make art out of this and not just be show and tell trombone in a tank? Which, to be fair, is pretty cool and interesting. But I think to take it to the next step is really important. And one of the reasons we asked you, Lewis, to do the video was because so much of your work has this somewhat handmade quality to it that we really love. And in Maddie's audio, it sounds, very reverby and it's professionally edited and everything, but there's these moments of realness. Like you can hear them breathing, or you can hear them a couple of extra musical sounds. I don't even know what to
Yeah,
call
there's some
those.
little shuffling sounds at one
Yeah,
point, or like
right.
And there's some
fall, or
cement trucks.
yeah. There's is there a plane that flies by at one point too? Or
I
is
think
that
there's a
truck
plane.
towards the end?
It's the trucks. There's like an access road nearby, and they drive by, and sometimes it comes through as a truck sound, and sometimes it just comes through as a single tone. But there's some harmonies that like there's an extra voice in it that's just the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that
Lovely.
those sort of I keep coming back to the word handmade, and it's similar to for Daria, how we shot the film. It feels very much like in the room itself. There's this black marley floor and then the white wall, and then Lewis turned that into this, oh well, here's the horizon, and here's this. I mean, it turned into this whole beautiful feature of the video, as opposed to being like, oh well, we only had the space we had, kind of thing. And I really
That's funny because well, when we talked about how you would shoot the video, and we talked about should it be a black box or everything white, and I said just work with what you have and we'll see what happens. And that horizon became, like you said, such a stark feature and like a really rich part of what I had to work with, I guess. So it's like a nice coincidence.
Yeah. So, I know that you've all three seen the video. Did you all have any questions for one another, or any comments or anything? Because I know that I've been kind of directing everything right now, but I wanted to open it up at the same time. I didn't know if you had any burning questions to ask one another. It's fine.
I really enjoyed y'all's work. I don't know if I have any questions, but I really enjoyed watching with both of y'all.
Good. Yeah, I guess I like point in it is kind of interesting because I was like the last piece of the chain,
Mm-hmm.
so I sort of felt like, yeah, it was a little weird working on it and changing what you guys had done or layering what I felt on top of it. So it's really nice to hear that you guys liked like the final product, because that was sort of a nervous place to work from since we didn't really communicate. I've done a lot of collaborations with people, but there's usually a lot of back and forth communication and sharing of ideas and discussing different paths. But here I just sort of was left to my own devices. So yeah, that's great to hear that you guys like it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say it'd be interesting to like repeat the process. Like, now that I know, I don't know, it's like now that I know, Lewis, what you can do, that like gave me ideas of other movements I could do.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Mattie, if it also gave you like sound ideas, but yeah. But the comments I wanted to make was like when I watched the full video, I feel like the thing that comes through that we're all working with is resonance. This idea of resonance and echo. Uh, so that was, yeah, that was what really spoke to me, was that through line of how sound, how visuals, how movement slowly resonates.
Yeah, that was definitely a theme. I mean, even just starting from a tank, obviously, is going to be your resonance.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we're just really grateful to the three of you for being so open and so kind of trusting, really, honestly, trusting us to not make a big disaster out of your beautiful art. I wanted to just show quickly the postcard, which is the other component to your piece. This is a different artist, Amabelle Aguiluz, who has knit these rings, and I'm going to sort of zoom in a little bit. You can see, and so you're able to see. I mean, this is again really tricky to capture in a photograph because what it is an installation of 6 rings that are hung one in front of the other, and so as the audience member, you're able to peer through different lenses, and so we had to pick which version everyone would experience. Whereas if you went into a gallery, you could see it from all versions. So it's not exactly as stressful as what Lewis did, but it's similar in that you're choosing this is the final version that everyone, this is how they will appreciate and understand this music and this movement is through this final filter, if you will. I'm not trying to bring it all back to that, but we really went with that theme for this release. Yeah, there's just, it's hard to describe sound and visuals with just talking faces. But this video I have watched about 3 or 4 times, and it's it transcends the like how did they do this, and it really gets into the like I'm able to just see it as one thing and not and step away from the mechanism of it, and that's something that's really powerful. And yeah, so thanks to you all. If anyone has any final remarks, go for it. But otherwise, I will see you all on the internet.
Thank you, Cass. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank
You're
you all so
welcome.
much.
You're most welcome. Okay, we'll talk to you all soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for the opportunity. See you
Of course.
guys.
Okay.
Bye bye.